February 2002. I remember the days they phoned us from the US and said, God has told them to tell me time to open a church. We started to think, Lord, what do you want us to do? And that became our cry, because people have never been ours. They've always been the Lord's, and it's been our job to help them fulfill their destiny. So we started in a prayer group in the back of the offices, and then we started in an Assemblies of God church on a Monday night. We had that for about 6 to 8 weeks before we felt led that we needed to look for a building. And so we ended up coming here to the Miami Hall around about April. And so we moved in with our first service. We started with about 150 people for the opening service for Jerry Savelle Ministries. And we were here for a couple of years, but this place, oh my goodness. We had to come in, and probably if you have a look around, you'll see there's 800 chairs that used to have to be moved and rearranged, and we stored our equipment out to the back. The sound gear was in the back of the hall as well. It was cold in the winter, and it was hot in the summer. So on a Saturday morning, we used to come in and set up. Sunday afternoon, we used to take it all down again. So that was a real exercise in learning to grow a church and just believing. And in fact, we've just walked back in here to do this interview, and they are still using the same things that we had here. We gave them entrance into the stage, cut doors in the stage as well. We were here for a number of years before they discovered asbestos on the roof. And they said, "No, we're going to have to move, and you can come back in 3 months." Well, you can't start and stop a church in 3 months. So we moved to the back of the offices in Paradise Avenue. It's been quite a journey of believing God to cover and fulfill everything that He wanted us to do at that time. It was quite a shock when they told us that we were going to have to leave. And we had the Jerry Savelle Ministry offices in Paradise Avenue. And at the back of those offices was a hall, or a large area we used to use for prayer meetings and worship practice. And so we moved out from here, and we moved everything into our offices. And we had church at the back of our offices. We squeezed 80 people into it. Oh, I don't know how we got them in at the time. But I stood up on the first Sunday that we were there, and out of my mouth came these words. I said, "Church, we'll only be here 6 to 8 weeks. That's all." And what happened? 2 doors down came available. We had to strip it, clean it. It's just after 6 weeks, we moved into a brand new facility, just 2 doors down from where our offices were. And so that itself was just an amazing enterprise. We moved from there in Township Drive, because the council, they said, "Look, when you found a place, you'll have to move out." So we moved our offices into Reedy Creek, and we moved the church building into Township Drive. First of all, we were looking for a new building. 63 Township Drive came along. People wanted us to share with them, but none of us felt comfortable in leadership at that time. And so we left it and kept looking. But what happened, God opened the doors. The people that were in there ran away, and the owner approached us about moving in. And so we, on a handshake, we took over the building and started the renovations. Well, many a night I would come home from the church and tell Diane, "I think they're trying to kill me," because I was a bit younger than I am now, but it took 3 months for the renovations, and many people who helped. And what you see now is a product. What we saw in our hearts is what the building is like now. The only difference is that when Brother Jerry saw it, it was green and black. And he said, "You know what, Ian? I love this, because we'll always be in the green, never in the red." And we moved in there with a great opening in that 2009. And we were really blessed. The renovations were all paid for. God came through and ministered for us to people, and everything was paid. And so, well, it's been called a house of prayer, but also a house of worship. And we've had a wonderful, wonderful team over the years that have led us into God's presence. And it's been amazing for us. So we'd actually started to move into live stream. We have people that watch live stream, South Africa, USA, around our nation, in the Pacific Islands, where we are. We do it with the anticipation that somebody is just going to pop on the stream, pop on the YouTube, come across the podcast, and their lives are going to be changed. We've had some marvelous meetings in there. Brother Jerry, Richard Roberts, Jesse Duplantis, Shane Willard, Andrew Starr, Catherine Renola, Faylene Sparks, Cole Stringer. We have many, many, many good guest speakers that have come in and have created the atmosphere. But the biggest thing in that building was the very presence of God. The very presence of when people have walked in, they've said the love of God, the care of God. And over the years, God has told us that we are to be the kindest church. We're to be a church that, how can I make your life better today? And that has been the attitude that we've had. And you know what, having come from other buildings where we had to put up and take down, I'm telling you, to walk into a place that's fully air conditioned, fully suitable, with its own coffee, club place, is marvelous. So we've had some marvelous, marvelous years at Township Drive, and I believe going forward, there are going to be many, many more years of God's kingdom being built and people's lives being touched and changed. I really do. The handover period for Diane and I actually started way before we handed over, because God had told us many years before not to retire. But then a couple of years after telling me not to retire, he told me to prepare to have a younger couple or younger people come in and begin to take the church to the next level. There was a preparation period of believing God and wondering, Lord, who have you got to lead the church forward? And it was a couple of years of walking with Sean and Megan.
Pastor Ian and Diane felt that God had spoken to them and said that they're to hand the church over to Pastor Megan and myself, that we were the next generation. We prayed about it. We believed God said, yep. He wanted us to get into it, to take on the mantle, take on the calling, take on the challenge. We had a strategic planning over the 2 or 3 years leading up to the March 2019, where the official baton exchange, the handover, the mantle exchange happened. You know, you look at Elijah to Elisha, you look at Moses to Joshua. There was a shifting, a changing of God for the next season, and that happened in 2019.
Brother Jerry came and laid his hands upon Sean and Megan and Vicky and Lee and entrusted them with the leadership of his church going forward.
And one of the things he prayed was, what's on me, let it come on them double. And if you look at Elijah to Elisha, there was double portion. Jesus said to his disciples, that what I do, you'll do and greater. So, you know, the one generation is always looking to the next, to go beyond, to cheer them on, to do more. And that's what we're expecting for. Like Jabez, enlarge our tent pegs, let us reach further, let us reach more, and let us achieve a lot more in a shorter space of time. And so, you know, I have a greater expectation, and I also believe the time is short. So we don't have 10, 20, 30, 40 years maybe to do what we need to do. So I believe the anointing will accelerate and speed up things so we can see those results.
Sean and Megan and Vicky Lee have done a great job in leading the church going forward, looking into the future, especially going through COVID, going through all the changes that had to happen. I think God knew, obviously, that it was coming. And so our heart was full that he's been able to give the stability to the church that he wanted. The future is looking good for going forward into whatever God has got for them.
Dr. Savell's mandate is to make winners in the game of life, and that, I think, is Jesus' mandate, you know, that he came to give us life and life in abundance. He came here to anoint us to win, you know, to have a victory in everything we do. Whatever we put our hands to prospers. So from old covenant in through to new is about victory. It's about overcoming this world, 1 John 5:4. And it's our victory that we have in our faith in Jesus Christ. And for me, that's my heart, is just to continue. Why reinvent the wheel? Especially when it's Jesus' mandate. And so my heart is to make winners, is to see people win in the game of life, marriage, business, finances, health, success, in every area. You know, our mission statement, you know, we came up with it a couple of years back. And we thought, what is our mission statement? How do we outwork that, making winners? And I want to read you our mission statement. It says that we aspire as a church family to make winners, locally and globally, by creating a loving environment whereby they are inspired, empowered, supported in walking out their destiny. You know, and that's my heart. God has laid stuff on my heart for this nation. It says locally and globally. My heart is to make winners, disciple people, not only in Burleigh, not only at Heritage of Faith headquarters, but I have a vision for far greater than that. We've got so much to do. The South Pacific is calling. That was my original mandate that from God before we left South Africa is go into the islands, preach the gospel. So God has got stuff that He's deposited in me that is coming out, and along with the mandate of the church is to use as a platform and a lighthouse that is going to go reach. What God showed me was like a lighthouse and this hand smacking down a ripple sound that's gonna go out and touch the nation. And I believe there's a prophetic sound, a prophetic apostolic sound that's got to move out to disciple this nation. That's what excites me, is that there's so much still to do. God still wants to move. When darkness prevails, light shines brighter. He's going to lift up a standard, and we just need to be prepared for it. And you know, I think about myself. When the Lord touched me, when I had an encounter from Jesus, He transformed me, He changed me, He gave me a hope. So everything I'm doing, what excites me, why I do what I do, is because I see me in every other person. I see the old Sean in every single person. I see people there waiting for a word from God that will alter their destiny and alter the generations and their families. That's what excites me. And there's so many of them out there that we need to reach.